All right, so Unit 10, we are talking about area. So again, this may be a review for some of you, and that's okay. In this video, we're just going to go through a couple things pretty quickly, and then we will do more practice, and then we'll add more shapes to our area list as we move throughout this unit. All right, so area of a triangle. Hopefully you've seen this before. This is your area formula, 1/2 base times height. Okay, if you look at the picture over here, one thing to notice, the base is along the bottom and the height is perpendicular, right? It forms a 90-degree angle to that base. And so that won't always be the case where the base is along the bottom. It could be like running vertically, and we could still use that as the base, as long as we have a height that is perpendicular to that. So it also, if you look at some of these down below, the height could be outside of the triangle or inside or along the side, and I'll show you an example of each of those. But again, the important thing is that the base and the height are perpendicular, meaning they form that 90-degree angle. Okay, so if I'm looking at this first example here, I can use, let's highlight. I can use this 6 as my base and this 5 as my height. Again, you see that right angle there? That's what's important, okay? Because the height is from the top straight down, right? So again, here would be my base, which is 12. And then I would use this outside as my height, because that is straight from the top down to the bottom, okay? And then this one, again, this is where the base wouldn't necessarily be on the bottom. We're looking for just a base and a height that are perpendicular. So let's say I use 17.5 as my base, then the 16 would be my height. Okay, so if I'm actually finding the area, all I'm doing, 1/2 base times height. So that's 1/2, 6 times 5, which is 15. And for area, we're using square units, so inches squared. Okay, second one, same thing, would be 1/2, 12 times 12. Okay, so that would be 72. And again, square kilometers, because kilometers squared. Kilometers is our unit. And then this last one, 1/2 base, which we've said is 17.5 times the height, which is 16. So that is 140 feet squared, or square feet. Okay, so the nice thing about area is once you know the formula, it should be pretty easy to just plug in. The hard part about area is knowing what formula to use and when. I strongly recommend having a formula sheet where you write just all your formulas in one place, so when you're doing an assignment, you can use that to reference. Okay, area of a parallelogram. We talked in the unit 6, which was quadrilaterals, that rectangles really are a type of parallelogram. So the formula for area is going to be the same, which is just base times height, which if you think about it makes sense because I could split this up into 2 triangles. And so 1/2 base times height and 1/2 base times height is really just base times height. We're just taking out the 1/2. Okay, so area equals base times height is what you're going to use here. Now, again, just like before, base and height have to be perpendicular. In a rectangle, we know they have to have 90-degree angles, so that's obvious. In a parallelogram, sometimes it's not as obvious, but again, base and height up here, okay? So one thing you will not use is you won't use a side like that. Sometimes that value will be there just to throw you off, but you won't be using that. All right, so let's find the area of this. So again, base and height have to be perpendicular. So here's my base. That makes this 4 my height. Okay, I would need the 4.5 maybe if I was going to find perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around a shape, but for area, we don't need that. So area is just base times height, and that would just be 5 times 4. So that is 20 square inches. Done. Okay, so again, pretty straightforward. Once you figure out which formula to use based on the shape that you have, you just plug those values in. We will do some more examples with this in class, and then in section 2, we will talk about trapezoids and rhombi and kites.